What's happening? It's your player partner, Mack B. I'm back at it. Back in the building. Episode 67. I'm in the building. And before we go any further, we appreciate the love. Everybody hit that subscribe button. Follow the movement here at Sports Hop. I got Solomon, my player partner, in the house. How are you feeling, man? It's the NFL playoffs, baby. Wild card weekend was something else.
I am good. There was a lot of good games yesterday. A lot of good nail biters, man.
A lot of great games, and we're going to dive right in. We got a lot to cover, so we're going to land in the windy city of Chicago. Shout out to the Bears, who not only won the NFC North under first-year coach Ben Johnson, they actually are the comeback kids, right? I mean, they were down 21-3 at the half, and I was watching that game, and I honestly thought there's no way in hell the Bears are going to pull this off against a really feisty Green Bay team with Matt LaFleur. We know there's a bit of rivalry. It's even brewing even bigger than it's ever been because we know first-year head coach Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur, they basically hate each other. Look at the after-game handshakes. That'll say it all, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
That says it all, right? I know. Things can get testy out there, but what a game. Caleb Williams just continues to defy the odds. The offense in the first half was stagnant. They weren't moving the football. They went for it on fourth down in their own territory twice. I think they were at like the 30 or 35-yard line, and they're basically handing the Packers, here, you want 3 points? Here you go.
Yeah, they were already in field goal range.
Right, the gift that keeps on giving, right? I wasn't really in agreement with Ben Johnson making those decisions, but overall, it didn't come back to haunt the Bears. But speaking of being haunted, I think that this loss stings on the Packers organization. This is something for many, many years that they will not forget. I don't care what anyone says. Games have a psychological and emotional impact. It's not just about the physicality. Being up 18 points, and then in the fourth quarter, they were up at various times 12 to 15 points. And the Bears just kept fighting and coming back and clawing back, and they started stretching the field with Caleb Williams. Shout out to DJ Moore, Duvernay, Adunze. I mean, these guys have speed on the outside. The Bears have a good running game, and Caleb Williams is probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he has to throw on the run. I mean, that fourth down pass, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I saw that.
The fourth down pass that literally sailed over the defender's hand, and it ended up being a first down. I think it was like 4th and 15 or something.
4th and 8.
4th and 8, okay. Thank you for the correction, by the way. But yeah, Caleb Williams is the man. The Bears end up winning that game 31-27 at home. They got home cooking too, because they get to play the Rams at home, and we'll tap in a little bit later on the show regarding that game and what I think is going to happen. But I just want to go ahead and focus back on the Bears and Packers game. Epic meltdown from the Green Bay Packers. I mean, big time. That cheese and those cheese heads, that cheese is melted away, and the Packers season has been washed away due to that futility in the second half. They really didn't move the ball much. In the third quarter, they did get a drive going down the field, scoring a touchdown, extending the lead. But the best way to keep a hot quarterback off the field where he can't beat you is to keep him on the sidelines. And Caleb Williams had the hot hand. Green Bay basically abandoned the run with Jacobs. I mean, Josh Jacobs has been the bell cow. He's been hurt, on and off this season. But I think that they kind of should have went more to the running game, control the clock, provided they got first downs, and keep Caleb Williams in that hot Bears offense off the field. But the Packers came up short. Again, the Bears win a thriller in Chicago, 31-27. They advance to the NFC Divisional round, and they'll take on a very tough opponent, the Rams. Like I said, we'll get to them in a moment. But back to Green Bay, I really believe that, Mike LaFleur is going to be on the hot seat for this for quite some time. Despite what you may not be hearing, or you may be hearing other contrary news, like they're looking to extend him. But I think this is going to impact him for quite some time. Unless Green Bay bounces back, they make a deep playoff run next year. Maybe it's different, but it's the way they lost the game. It's not that they lost, it's how they lost. You know, blowing an 18-point lead, blowing a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter. He would be in high demand, Solomon, if the Packers end up giving him his hall pass. His walking papers and saying bye-bye, sayonara, arrivederci, hasta luego, hasta la vista. Au revoir. We covered all the languages tonight, but nonetheless, Green Bay finished the year at 9-7-1, and with that playoff loss, they ended up being 9-8-1. They kind of stumbled down the stretch. They did have a lot of injuries, but you know, they were in that game. They really had the game in their hands, and they kind of dropped the bag, so to speak. But I'm really proud of Caleb Williams. First-year coach Ben Johnson knows how to coach. Players coach. They love him over there in Chicago. The Bears have a lot of momentum. I think they're a dangerous team, and I think they can play with anybody, especially when the offense is clicking the way it was in the second half. The Bears are a viable threat to anybody in the NFC, anybody in the league. If they can play 4 quarters of football, look out. So, Solomon, my question to you is, what are your thoughts on the meltdown in Green Bay via Chicago, okay, because they played in the Windy City? And do you think LaFleur's on the hot seat, even though they're publicly saying they want to extend him? I think there may be some feathers ruffled over there in Green Bay. What are you thinking right now based on the outcome of that game?
Well, I enjoyed the game as a fan. I told you the last time we did this episode that I have a special affinity for the Bears, not over our home team Rams, of course, but and that's why yesterday I was rooting for the Niners to lose so that the Rams wouldn't play the Bears immediately right now. But I enjoyed the game. The Bears just find a way to win, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't one thing. It was just a methodical clawing their way back into that game.
Right.
I was like everybody else. I turned the game off at 21-3 halftime. And it's funny because I asked my Alexa, I go, how much did the Bears lose by? And she says, well, in the fourth quarter, the Bears are up 31-27. I'm like, what? Turn the TV back on, and just watch the end of that game. But to answer your second question, no, I don't think Matt LaFleur is in the hot seat, because you got to look and see what are the available coaches out there right now. And he is a winning coach, right? They won more games than they've lost. He's very good. They had a bad game, and those are things that can be corrected. Like you said, there were some injuries there. So no, I think he's fine. I think they do the extension, and I think he keeps his job.
Well, shout out to both teams. The Packers are on vacation. They literally have packed their bags while the Bears move on and keep rolling. Great story for the NFL, because the Bears are such a historic franchise, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm really happy for the city of Chicago. Shout out to Caleb Williams and DJ Moore and that entire football team, and Ben Johnson doing an outstanding job as a first-year head coach. So I love the rivalry. We're going to keep it moving and grooving. And speaking of moving and grooving, there was a lot of that happening over in Carolina with the Panthers playing the Rams on Saturday. Very interesting matchup with Matthew Stafford and Bryce Young. I was really hard on Bryce Young last year on this show. I called him out. I'm not going to front. He wasn't playing up to his level of capability, and he turned things around. To his defense, he threw 23 touchdowns this year during the regular season. Had a really good game on Saturday versus the Rams. Showed a lot of poise. I really like what Dave Canales and Carolina is doing over there in terms of building a winning culture. And they're a young team. You got the rookie McMillan on the outside. He's going to win Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I love what he's able to do to get open and run routes and stretch the field. But they have some other receivers on that Panthers roster that have done well, particularly in that game on Saturday. And I like what Bryce Young was doing. I do like the combination of Chuba Hubbard in the backfield, as a 1-2 punch. So the Panthers have a bright future. They had the Rams on the ropes. Literally had the lead late. Okay, it was like 31-27, and the Rams and Stafford had to go down the field with like 2.5 to 3 minutes left in the ball game, and they needed a touchdown to win it. So shout out to them. Shout out for the composure that Matthew Stafford exemplified. Sean McVay, what more can you say? Just a great coach. Knows how to make in-game adjustments. The Rams were a heavy favorite in that game. They were a 10.5-point favorite in that game. Nobody gave the Panthers a chance. I said all along I thought the Panthers would show up because these two teams, before that playoff game, they had met like a month previously in Carolina, and it was a very eerily similar game, right? Because Carolina was down early, then Matthew Stafford turned the football over and threw, I think, 2 to 3 interceptions, and the Panthers got right back in it and ended up sealing the deal late and winning that game. That was another high-scoring affair in Carolina about a month ago. But this game was for all the marbles. This was a playoff game. It's either win or go home. And it's unfortunate that Carolina couldn't close the deal. Shout out to the Rams, though, for making it happen and showing that championship pedigree. So Sean McVay, I love the way he coaches. I love his in-game adjustments, capabilities. The Panthers, they have nothing to hold their heads down about. They had a good year. Despite the 8-9 record, ended up being 8-10 after the playoff loss. But they're a good football team. I think they'll be back with a vengeance next year. And I know it's early, but I'm picking them to repeat as the winners of the NFC South. So we'll see how it plays out. But the Rams are headed to Chicago now to play the Bears. We're going to talk a little bit more about that matchup later on in the show. But shout out to LA and the Rams and such a great game. And shout out Stafford, by the way, injured his throwing hand in that game on an extended release. He collided with the helmet of one of his teammates. X-rays were negative, so he'll be good to go on Saturday in Chicago, and we'll see how it plays out, between the Bears and the Rams. That's going to be a fun one. Any early thoughts on that game? Not asking for a prediction, but any early thoughts on Chicago and LA?
It'll be fun. I'm gonna root for the Rams, of course, just because that's the home team. Yes. But if the Bears won that game, then I would pick the Bears to go all the way. Whether that's realistic or not, that's just gonna be my team. But it'll be fun, and it'll be exciting to see Caleb Williams against a seasoned Rams offense or seasoned Rams defense and offense.
Yeah.
And see how they do, because the Rams won that game with Carolina. That was based on just experience, just being more experienced players, knowing what to do when it mattered. You had
pedigree.
Yeah, you had some drops by Puka Nacua in that game.
Yeah.
And there was a point in the second, I think it was the third quarter, where he looked like he just lost his confidence. I mean, and
we don't see that from him.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this guy's not going to catch another ball this game. He got it back and got everything together. So and they did well. They had some key injuries, people coming back. Tyler Higbee came back in this game too. So the Rams, I think, have momentum. So I think overall they probably will beat Chicago, but Chicago is at home and it is going to be cold.
Yeah, home cooking ain't nothing better than that. We will see how it plays out. And speaking of things playing out, we're going to go down to Duval. Shout out to Jacksonville, Duval County. What a great game that was between the Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo ends up squeaking out the win, 27-24 from Jacksonville. That was a really physical game, Solomon. I mean, Josh Allen was getting banged up early and often. The Jags came out ready to play. They were flying around all over the field on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, I like what Trevor Lawrence was doing to stretch the field. You had ETN coming out of the backfield with some big runs and then catching some balls out of the backfield. But the Jags came up a little bit short, despite the fact that they won the AFC South. They have nothing to hold their heads down about. I mean, the Jags are a great, young, athletic team. I like what Trevor Lawrence is doing. He's proven me wrong. He was somebody else that I called out on this show last year because I didn't think he was playing at a high enough level to justify that big contract that they gave him a few years back. But Trevor Lawrence can play with the best of them. He had a really good game with the exception of the end. threw that interception at the end, which basically sealed the fate of Jacksonville. But I like what first-year coach Leon Cohen is doing, and Liam Cohen knows how to coach. I like what he's doing in terms of instilling that player development with the franchise. There's a level of excitement down there in Duval County. Shout out to Jacksonville. You guys got my respect. Nothing but respect to the Jags. They're still a very dangerous team, and I think they'll be a team on the rise in the future. I don't think this is a one-off. I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are here to stay, and we will be hearing from those Duval boys in the near future. But back to Josh Allen in Buffalo, definitely, resilient team. They had to go down the field late and score that winning touchdown to come back and win that game. The Bills right now are a real dangerous team because they can score with anybody. And defensively, although they're not in the top 10 in the NFL, they bend but don't break. So you can move the ball on Buffalo, but in key situational moments, they can stop the opposition or hold teams to a field goal. They do make some key plays and force some turnovers, so don't sleep on the Bills' defense. But if Josh Allen continues to play at this level, we're talking about a stampede to Santa Clara, right? That's what this potentially could be. And based on the way these things are playing out, I would not be surprised on February 8th if the Buffalo Bills are representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. I know we still got a lot of football left to play, so I won't put the cart before the horse. But shout out to Buffalo Bills Mafia. It looks like they're going to be on the road because they got to play the Broncos now in Denver, so they got to go to the Mile High City. We're going to touch on that game a little bit later on in terms of game prediction. But Solomon, what are your thoughts on Josh Allen, the Bills' resiliency, particularly able to, take the lead back late in the game, drive down the field, and then force a key turnover at the end to seal the deal? What are your thoughts on Buffalo pulling out the win, and then what are your thoughts on the future of the Jags?
Well, of course, the future of the Jags is I think that's set. Trevor Lawrence, to me, made a big leap from last year.
Yeah.
Big jump. He was more consistent this year. The talk about him has always been that, he has his moments, but is he a franchise quarterback? And this year he looked like a franchise quarterback. I think he was more consistent throughout the year. So they have definitely taken a step forward. Etienne, I like him. I liked him when he was with the Dolphins, of course. And so him on that team, it gives them a good running game. So with regard to the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen is going to put that team on his back throughout the playoffs. That's how I feel. You can't tell me that him coming into Buffalo, being there, having his whole career there so far, he doesn't know, what it means to that city to have a championship. When they went to the Super Bowl 4 straight times and lost 4 straight times.
Yeah.
That's gotta.
He wasn't even born at that time.
No, but but he knows he's taking that mantle on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they've had some disappointments the last couple of years. This year they haven't been as explosive as they have in years past. They've been fallible. They've shown inconsistencies, but I think he is going to empower his team.
Yeah.
And they're going to go as far as he goes this year.
Well said. Well, shout out to Bills Mafia and shout out to Buffalo. They are a dangerous team, and they're going into Denver to play my Broncos. I'm a Bronco maniac, in case you didn't know, and I'm a little bit worried, okay? That's enough that I'm going to say for now until later on, but I am a little bit concerned. We're going to move on, and we are going to go to the city of brotherly love. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of love for the Eagles, particularly on offense. A lot of drop passes, really inconsistent play calling, some questionable decisions made in that game. The Eagles lay an egg, and they lose the wild card game at home to the 49ers. Shout out to Kyle Shanahan and the Niners for pulling off the upset. They went into that game as a 6-point dog, and McCaffrey and Purdy showed a lot of just resiliency and playoff pedigree, a lot of maturity. And McCaffrey, what more can you say about him? Because he's a bell cow out of the backfield, but then they had the trick play, right, with Jennings coming around and throwing a touchdown pass to McCaffrey. Great catch, by the way, in the end zone I love what Kyle Shanahan is doing to not only be creative in the play calling game, but to overcome so many obstacles, so many injuries this year. Many thought the Niners this year were in rebuild mode. I never expected the 49ers to go down to the last game of the year to basically have the winner of that game between them and Seattle win the NFC West. They ended up 13-4. They just won their wild card game over the Eagles. So they move on. They live to fight another day. They're going to go up to the Pacific Northwest and play a tough Seattle team, and we're going to break that down here a little bit later on in the show. But back to Philly and the Niners, a lot of people, including myself, are kind of scratching their head in terms of, the offense really wasn't really versatile. They really didn't come up with a lot of creative play calls. Jalen Hurts he had moments where he actually was moving the football, but his receivers unfortunately didn't help him out, right, Solomon? A.J. Brown dropped quite a few balls. Devontae Smith had a couple drops, and Jalen Hurts, can only do so much. He can't throw the ball and then run and catch the ball at the same time, right? But I do love his game. I think that Philly will be back. I wasn't really a big fan of how Sirianni had a game plan in place. They really didn't look prepared, to be honest with you. And this goes back to a long time debate about last game of the year, resting players. They had a team in the Commanders who came into Philadelphia. They were playing with house money. Sirianni made a decision, I'm going to rest my guys. I don't think that was the right move. I think they came out flat. They looked rusty. They really didn't look very organized. And San Francisco was the more polished team. They were more consistent. They came up with big plays in crucial situational moments. They deserved to win the football game. And they were physical with the Eagles. I really like what they did. I like their aggressive game plan. Shout out to Shanahan, who he's got my vote for Coach of the Year. I'm sorry, despite some of these haters out here sipping haterade. Kyle Shanahan, with all the injuries, no Ayuk, okay. Trent Williams was lost for a few games. One of the best linemen in the game, right, to protect the quarterback. Okay. Kittle went down. He's got a torn Achilles. We wish him a speedy recovery. So you had no Ayuk all year. Trent Williams was banged up. Purdy was out of the lineup for like 6 weeks. You didn't have your starting quarterback. Now you lose Kittle, and they're still fighting, and they're winning, and they're believing. And so I love the momentum of the Niners. I love how Kyle Shanahan always designs a creative game plan, especially on the offensive side of the ball. One of the best offensive minds in the NFL. So he's got my vote for Coach of the Year. I love what you're doing out there in the Yay area, Kyle. Shout out to the 49ers. They, again, will be playing the Seahawks in the divisional round. But back to the Eagles, Solomon, I really believe there's a lot of questions and a lot of changes that are going to come within that organization. Many are thinking, will A.J. Brown be back? Jalen Hurts is obviously not going anywhere. But Saquon Barkley wasn't a big factor this year. I don't think they utilized him in the running game as much as they could have. A lot of teams had tape on Barkley and that Eagles offense. But to his defense, if he's not touching the football, how can he really beat you, right? So my question to you is, what are your thoughts on the 49ers pulling off the upset, okay, and my pick of Kyle Shanahan for Coach of the Year, and also the Eagles, because that nest is not stable, and they laid a big-time egg in Philly. I think there's going to be some major changes, a major shakeup in the city of brotherly love. Talk to me.
Yeah,
I'll talk back.
Well, I don't consider it technically an upset. I mean, these are two very good teams. You knew it was going to be a battle, going just from the beginning. You just knew it was going to be a war. Well, as far as the Niners, I watched that game in NorCal in a bar full of Niners fans. All you saw was red everywhere. So that city is crazy for that team. Yeah. It was an electrifying environment to watch them play. And I think the fans got what they deserved. It was a good close game, and you want that excitement, right? You want that drama, that anxiety, and then you want your team to come out at the end. But But yeah, they stuck with it. McCaffrey took time to get started, and I think toward the end, when the offense or the defensive line started getting tired, he started getting some runs and everything. He ended up with the 2 touchdowns, like you said.
Yeah.
And the one on the trick play, that was a good thing there. But they are going to go into Seattle next week, and they're going to play a very tough Seattle team, a very put together Seattle team.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Seattle's been good for a number of years, right?
Yeah.
They just got a better quarterback this past year,
Right.
and so. And they're going in with injuries and all of that, and I think that momentum will carry them so far. But I think this will be it for them.
They're gonna run out of gas, huh?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. All right. Well, shout out to the Niners. It's a gold rush in the Bay Area, and it's only fitting that they're gonna play their NFC West rival, the Seattle Seahawks. So that'll be a fun matchup. We're gonna break that down here a little bit later on in the show. One other thing on Brock Purdy, 18 out of 31, 262 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, had 2 early interceptions, and he overcame that. So I do like his maturity. I like his bounce back game because even when he makes mistakes, he can still provide a level of consistency and a level of leadership. So we're going to see what happens. Should be a fun matchup up there in the Pacific Northwest. And Philadelphia, they are on vacation. I think the Eagles have started flapping their wings and flying south. So we are moving on, and we are going to discuss the Patriots and the Chargers. Okay, we're going to go up to Foxborough, Massachusetts. And wasn't much of an offensive game, right? But shout out to Drake May, first-year Patriots coach Mike Vrabel, former Patriot player, doing a phenomenal job. I mean, when you think about the organization and the winning tradition behind New England, all the years when you had the owner, Mr. Kraft, you had Tom Brady, you had Belichick. That's all that people knew up there, right? Was a winning formula, a winning system, rinse and repeat. But then, when Brady left, things took a turn for the worse. Belichick struggled. They parted ways. And then they had Gerard Mayo as a first-year coach, and they only won 4 games. The Patriots didn't look very good at all. It wasn't the normal Patriots that we were accustomed to seeing. But now, 2025-2026 campaign, Mike Vrabel is also a very high candidate for Coach of the Year. The Patriots finished the year at 14-3. They went from 4-13 to 14-3. So I love what I'm seeing out of the Patriots. They dominated the Chargers 16-3. Defensively, they dominated that game. They dominated the line of scrimmage. They beat up Justin Herbert left and right. He was sacked 6 times. So they really, really brought a lot of steam on that defensive line. The secondary played well. They were making plays. Offensively, Drake May kind of stumbled and struggled a little bit, but he kind of found his footing late in the game through a touchdown pass to Hunter Henry. But the Patriots pull it out 16-3. They're going to face the winner of Houston and Pittsburgh, who are currently playing as we speak. So that will be interesting to see what their next opponent will be. As far as the Chargers go, a really Jekyll and Hyde season for a Jekyll and Hyde team, Solomon, because I love Coach Harbaugh. I love his game. He's a player's coach. He knows how to coach. But it just seems like last year they went into Houston and they stumbled. I think they were up 6-0 on the Texans last year and then ended up getting blown out. This year, they go up to New England. They only managed 3 points on offense. I can't fault the Chargers defense. They actually played a very decent game and only gave up 16 points. And it was really only a 9 points that they gave up until like middle of the fourth quarter when they gave up that 1 touchdown. So I can't fault the Chargers defense. They did their job offensively. The Chargers still have work to do. Justin Herbert is top 10 quarterback in the league. He can play with the best of them. But until he wins a playoff game and shows a level of consistency when it really counts, I think people are still going to doubt him He's a great guy. I work with him personally. He's a great guy. I wish him nothing but the best. They got to get some help on that offensive line because he's just getting destroyed up front. But shout out to the Patriots who move on. The Chargers season is over. Shout out to Harbaugh and Herbert and those boys. Any thoughts on the Chargers' futility in the postseason where they can't seem to get the job done? And what are your thoughts on Drake May and the Patriots?
Well, Drake May has proven himself to be the franchise quarterback. I think he has stepped up big time. He is what people wanted the Jaguars quarterback to be early on. Now
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. So he has taken that mantle, and I think he understands what his role is. But on the other side, I think I'm more disappointed in the Chargers. I mean, they have never really had a strong identity, and it's weird because you look at the numbers of Justin Herbert, and he's got good numbers, but it's like you still don't feel that he's a great quarterback because, like you said, he's not able to lead his team anywhere. And the team doesn't follow. The wins don't follow. The Chargers are very inconsistent. I think there's probably hasn't been one game this year where you go in and say, okay, the Chargers are going to win that game for sure. You just don't know what team's going to show up.
Yeah.
And that's been their Achilles heel all this year. So it's funny being in LA, they still haven't really, got a strong base of fan support and all this stuff. You go to any Charger game, They're going to be just as many of the other teams' fans there. I almost think they should go to a city that lost its team and just really get their own fan base, But while they're here, we're going to root for them, and hopefully, they'll be able to put something together next year. But
well, they got a very talented roster, and
they got a good coach.
Yeah, Harbaugh's the right coach. My only thing, and it doesn't really mean anything now, but I thought when they were making the move from San Diego, I personally thought they should have put the Chargers in Vegas, and they should have brought the Raiders back to LA with the Rams, because everybody knows, whether you're from LA or you're visiting here or you are a transplant and you come here, LA is a Rams and a Raiders town, hands down. I mean, that's what it is. I would honestly say 80% of the people in this city who are football fans are fans of the Rams or the Raiders. Now, I'll sprinkle some 49ers and some other teams.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, for the most part, this is a Ram and Raider market. So I thought it was a mistake by the Chargers to come to LA. They have a great franchise. They've never won a Super Bowl. But, shout out to the Chargers and Harbaugh and Herbert. And Herbert, heal up with that broken hand. He's been playing injured literally the last 6 weeks of the year. So I love his toughness. I'm rooting for Justin Herbert. I think he's a great player. So we'll see how it plays out. Any other final thoughts on that matchup, on that game?
Not really. That's it.
Okay.
All I got.
Okay. We are going to move on. And speaking of moving on, we're going to give you some predictions on the divisional round. Okay. And we are going to start in the NFC with the San Francisco 49ers headed up to Seattle to play a tough Seahawks team with Coach McDonald. Sam Darnold behind center for the Seahawks. You got Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who is very relevant right now. McCaffrey and that banged-up Niners team. But speaking of bang Niner game, shout out to E40 Fonzarelli with that 49er anthem. But bang Niner gang. I really like what the 49ers have been doing. I think they have all the momentum at the right time. They're a 7-point dog headed into that matchup next week. And I really believe people are undervaluing what the Niners have been able to do. Okay, I don't think it's a one-off just because they upset the Eagles that they're going to go into Seattle and just lay down. I think the 49ers are valid. They're viable here. I really like them. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think they're going to win it outright. I think the 49ers are going to upset the Seahawks and keep this train moving. It's a gold rush up in Seattle, but I do believe they're going to cover that 7 and definitely make it happen. So that's my pick in that particular game. I like the San Francisco 49ers to cover, and not only cover, but win it outright. Extra lettuce on that sandwich. You know what time it is. It's time to get that Gouda, that guap, that queso, baby, that cheese. What are your thoughts, Solomon? Talk to me. I talk back.
Well, like I said, I'm not a betting guy. I think Seattle will eventually win that game because I just think there's a better team at this point in the season. So that's it. I'm not saying San Francisco will lay down by any means. That's a tough, scrappy team. But yeah, I think they'll get beat by a better team this week.
Okay. We're going to move on to the AFC Divisional round. We're going to go to the Mile High City. Shout out to my Denver Broncos, baby. Bo Nix, Sean Payton, Patrick Surtain II. I mean, talented defense. Denver, hands down, top 5 in the league defensively. They know how to stop the run. They make a lot of plays in the secondary. They fly around. That altitude up in Denver with that thin air, it could be a factor. We'll see how that plays out. Denver is the first home team to be an underdog in the AFC Divisional round since the Eagles and Nick Foles were an underdog years ago when he led them all the way to the promised land and they won a championship with the backup quarterback of Nick Foles. But back to the Broncos and the Bills. Buffalo has been hot. Josh Allen has been hot. I like their coach, Sean McDermott. I think he's underrated at times, and he always has a good game plan in place. So they're going to come into Denver on Saturday, January 17th, and the Bills are a favorite. They're a 1.5-point favorite in this game. I am a little bit worried. I'm not worried defensively with the Broncos. What I have noticed at times is they can get kind of stagnant when they get to the red zone. They can move the ball up and down the field. The question is, when you get to the red zone, can you facilitate a touchdown versus a field goal? Because 7 looks a whole lot better than 3. So my biggest concern in this game, Solomon, is can the Broncos offensively have enough firepower to compete with Buffalo? Because Josh Allen, with all his weapons and Shakir, and you got Bass and Kincaid, you got some great tight ends, and they got Cooks coming out of the backfield. So they can move the football up and down the field and score with anybody. My biggest concern headed into that matchup in the Mile High City is, can the Broncos score enough points? Can Bo Nix have enough composure to lead the Broncos down the field and put up touchdowns, not field goals? So I really love my Broncos. And I am going to tell you, we keep it 100 on this show. I honestly believe that the Bills are a team of destiny this year. And I think Buffalo goes into Denver and they win that football game. Swallow the 1.5. Buffalo goes into Denver. I'm predicting a score of 28-24. Buffalo gets it done for the second week in a row on the road. And yes, it hurts my heart to say that, because I'm a Denver Bronco to the end. But in terms of the wager, in terms of getting paid, I believe that Buffalo is the right side. We shall see what happens. Solomon, what are your thoughts on this matchup coming out of the Mile High City with the Broncos and Sean Payton and Sean McDermott and the Bills and Josh Allen? Talk to me.
Well, I agree with you. I think Buffalo will find a way to pull it out. The Broncos obviously are a very good team. I think they've almost played above their level this year. I know you don't like to hear that, but I think they have, and I think the playoff experience of the Bills is going to show here, and I think this team will pull it out. And like you said, like I said, first of all, that I think Josh Allen is going to put this team on his back. But like you said, I think this is the team of destiny this year. I think this is their year.
All the years of heartache because they couldn't get past Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and Allen has a long time coming. And this guy, he's basically Superman without the cape. Okay, yeah. I mean, there's some great players in this league, but Josh Allen, who won the MVP last year, I think he's the MVP again. The way he's played, the way he's carried that Bills team, because he has a level of physicality, right? He can beat you with his arm all day long. but he can move and run with his legs, and he can basically score with anybody. So should be a fun matchup. I hope I'm wrong. Shout out to, Mile High City, Bronco Nation, Orange Crush. I'm still a Bronco fan big time, but I think this Buffalo Bills team is a team of destiny, and they got too much. So we shall see. We are going to move on, and we are going to the Windy City of Chicago. Shout out to the Bears. First-year head coach Ben Johnson. Shout out to Sean McVay and the Rams. Interesting matchup. That game is going down this weekend in Chicago, and you got the Rams, who are favored by 4 over the Bears. I really, really think this is an interesting game, Solomon, because I think the Bears and Caleb Williams have all the momentum, right? Not to say the Rams don't have momentum, but I really like what Chicago has been able to do, particularly at home. So they've already proven that no deficit is too large for them to overcome, right?
Yeah, they've done.
Let's not get it twisted, because they're the comeback kids of the NFL. And Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter has been nothing but butter with a capital B, baby. So I love what he's been able to do. He holds his composure. He doesn't panic. He just has this level of leadership and that will to win. I see it in his eyes. I see it in his actions. So I think that's going to be a very, very entertaining game. And I think that game's going to be closer than what people think. I think the Bears are going to be, but that's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going all the way down to the wire. I think the Rams are going to have some issues with that Bears defense. I think, Stafford's hand, I believe that he's okay. The x-rays were negative, but he did suffer an injury to his throwing hand in that Carolina game last week. So we're going to see how that plays out. But Puka Nacua is going to have to play a big role in that game. Kerwin Williams is going to have to run the football out of the backfield. And the Rams can't make any mistakes. If you're turning the football over at a high rate, particularly against a young, hungry Chicago Bears defense, I think the Bears can eat. And I believe that the Bears can win this game outright if the Rams make those mistakes. Now, who do I think is going to win the game? I think the Rams will win the football game. In terms of the line itself at 4, I would take the Bears all day long at +4. Home team getting more than a field goal. Chicago is viable here. They've got a lot of momentum. Ben Johnson's going to have them boys ready. That crowd out there in Chicago is going to be wild. It's going to be a hostile environment. It's probably going to be cold, which I think is advantage Bears. But the Rams have proven that they can win anywhere, anytime. So I still think with the championship pedigree and the leadership of Sean McVay, I think the Rams get it done and they squeak out the win. But it's not going to be easy. I think final score from Chicago is Rams 32 and the Bears 29. So the Rams will move on and advance to the NFC Championship game. Now, with that being said, you know what time it is. It's time to get paid with that lettuce, that Gouda, that guap, that queso. It's time to bring the pain. So Solomon, my player partner, let it rain. Woo! Episode 67 is in the books. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all the love. We are growing here at Sports Hop Media. It's your boy, Mack B. Peace and love. Thanks for watching Sports Hop. For all the latest news on hip-hop and sports, subscribe here and keep it locked. It's your boy, Mack B.